Previously on Broken Sylvia, we did a lot of sanding and finally got the R34 shell in primer. In this episode, we're going to be revealing the front end that's going to be used on the car and also sand and prepare the rest of the body panels for primer, so we are one step closer to finally seeing this car in color. So this is the bonnet we're going to be using on the front end of the car. It's an original R34 GTR V-Spec 2 bonnet, which means it's made out of full carbon. These are almost impossible to come by nowadays, and you won't believe it, but I was very fortunate to actually have this bonnet donated to me by my friend Scott. He got a Z-Tune bonnet for his car, and this was just kind of laying around for a few years, and yeah, I ended up with it. So very, very lucky, and thank you very much, Scott. So this is the front bumper, and to those that aren't familiar with it, it's an R34 GTR Z-Tune front bumper. This is not an original, even though the original do come in fiberglass or carbon. This is just a fiberglass copy. I'm not sure what brand it is. I was able to buy it locally along with the fenders for a relatively good price. So yeah, that's what we're going to be using.
I'm looking for a way inside your mind. It's a haze of mysteries. All I see is smoke and mirrors and the reflecting memories.
So the first job on the list was to remove the GTR badge and the indicators. The GTR badge is held on by 2 screws from the back, and the indicators are just held on by clips. After that, I grabbed some thin line masking tape and masked around the carbon fiber section, so when I actually go to sand the bonnet, I don't risk scratching the carbon or damaging it in any way possible, even though it has seen a little bit of sun damage and I'm going to have to repair it, but heavier grit sandpapers might actually damage the carbon fiber weave. Then I removed the Nismo stickers. So I'll start off by sanding the bonnet, front bumper and fenders. I'm just using some 240 grit sandpaper on a speed file and also another few sanding blocks that I have laying around for those harder to get to sections.
Never sees me, I'm losing every battle. No one ever sees me, I'm losing every battle. No one ever sees me, I'm losing every battle. Can somebody save me, I'm losing every battle.
Even though these side skirts are brand new from Nissan, I'm still going to sand them with some 240 grit sandpaper before I put some primer on them. Next job on the list is to clean up this barn find door and also remove all the rubber seals and plastics that will get in the way on both doors.
I won't make it easy for you now. You got 2 minutes of my time, and I don't really break too easily, but I'm worth it, 'cause I'll slip into your dreams tonight. Oh, so give me your all. I'll take it to Mars. Oh, I'll stick like glue inside your mind. Oh, so give me your all. I'll take it.
So before I started sanding this panel with some 120 grit sandpaper on a speed file, yes, the sandpaper might be a little bit on the aggressive side, but my goal is to try get this panel as straight as possible and also knock off a lot of the old color before I put primer on top. You can see I've made 3 marks with the black permanent marker, just 3 little circles where the low spots are, and that was done before I even started sanding the panel. So while this panel is still glossy, that is the easiest way to see any imperfections, whether they be high spots or low spots. Once you sand this panel and it goes matte, it becomes a lot more difficult to see the imperfections, so make sure you mark all those sections before you begin sanding. So here I'm just mixing up a small amount of body filler that will be used on the door, and as you can see on the tin, that is the brand of body filler we're using, so just take a screenshot if that's something you'd want to use on your own car. It might seem like I'm putting it on a little bit thicker, but I'd rather put a little bit extra on and spend a little bit more time sanding than not put enough on and then have to reapply. So before people go and comment, yes, I will improve, and I know I'm probably not the best person in terms of health and safety, but yeah, from now on, I'm going to just always start wearing a mask because a lot of people are watching these videos, and I do want to set an example and also probably take care of my own health. All the work that has been done so far might seem like it was all done in one day, but in reality it was actually quite a few days worth of work, and there's more to be done. So the annoying jobs such as door jambs, handles, mirrors, but again, it all has to be done, and another few minutes of sanding and we'll get to the primering. Here I'm just making a template so I know where the GTR badge goes, and also using some fishing wire to remove it. that's it for another day. So the primer gun I'm using is a Velocity primer gun. Now I finally decided to invest some money in some decent equipment because I know I'm going to be using it on this project and future projects. So pretty much the whole time I've been using it, I just could not get it to work properly. And by the end of it, you'll see on the bonnet how nicely it starts spraying, and I realized I needed to bump it up to the 2.5mm tip, and also I had to kind of like open up that cap on the top to let air in, and then the fluid came right out, and I'm very happy with it, with how it works. So there you have it. Pretty much the whole car is now in primer and one color, which is really good considering where we started. I'll show you guys what the parts turned out in a how the parts turned out in a second. But I also want to give you a bit of a rundown on what there is to come and what's been happening behind the scenes. So what there is to come: the engine bay, rear bumper need to be put in primer. All the parts need to be slapped onto the car. Make sure everything lines up perfectly. Don't see why it wouldn't. Then I have to restore the underside of the car, make it a rolling shell, and put it in paint. Now, my deadline was to do everything by the end of October. Today is the 15th of October, and I just came quickly to the workshop after work to give you guys a bit of a rundown on like what there is to come. So we're not going to make that deadline. I have uni stuff coming, like assessments, exams, but the best thing about that is that's almost done. About another month of that, and then my summer break starts. So I've got 3 months of uni that I don't need to worry about, which means we can spend an extra few hours or an extra day at the workshop working on the car instead of being at uni learning about business. Anyways, what else? I hate talking on camera, so please bear with me. This is still all new to me. But yeah, behind the scenes and Instagram. I post everything live on Instagram, what's happening on the stories and stuff, and it doesn't make, people are asking themselves why I am parting out my red S14 Silvia that has an RB25 in it. And the simple answer is funds. As much as I'd like to make these videos enjoyable and cruisy to watch, I also have to be 100% honest with you guys. I'm getting to a stage where this isn't costing much money, materials aren't expensive, my labor is free, and the rent isn't over the top, so I'm managing. But once this car is in paint, to be honest, I'm stuck for cash. So the S14 has had a lot of money dumped into it in the last 2.5 years. Pretty much every single paycheck has gone into that car, and that car is not running. And it's not a car that I've always wanted. I just kind of ended up with one and did things the way I did. Never thought I'd come along this car this soon, get this car this soon. So bit of a change in plans, but don't worry. As I said, summer's coming, so that means I can push out. Are you serious? Sick. So yeah, means I've got more time on my hands to push out more content, but if there's nothing to film, can't push out content. So I've made a bit of a plan, and the plan is to say goodbye to the RB setup out of the S14 and get the S14 running sooner than later. Makes no sense, but trust me, that car's going to see the road relatively soon, and I'll also end up with a bit of money to make progress on this car. Makes no sense. Once the car's painted, I'm starting a vlog, if you may say, which is like just mini updates and behind the scenes stuff, just so people know what's going on. Cool. If you like this sort of content, consider subscribing, and yeah, see you guys soon. So here's the bonnet. I'm definitely not painting the car white. This is so annoying trying to get the exposure right. Carbon still needs to be repaired. The front bumper, absolute nightmare, but we got through it. A lot of sections that need to be done like by hand, trying to get your hand in there and stuff. Had to remove the mesh, that's cool, that's done. Passenger door isn't black anymore. R34 GTR tail lights around. Spare RB25 engine. Another cheeky little engine. RB30, what? Yeah. Tail lights around. Excuse the mess in the workshop. And what is this? What is this? You might be asking yourself, why did I get this? And it's not mine, but this probably explains how we're going to get my car running. There is stuff everywhere. I need to get some shelving. Literally body panels everywhere of so many Nissans. That'll be it for another episode, ladies and gentlemen. Goodbye.
Discussions on bragging about hundreds. Don't go to your places, I know that they sunken. Don't call me your brother, I barely could trust you. I talked to a shorty, she bagging the bucket. And I'ma need all of my dollars on corporate, so hand me the money, I divvy the pie. I'ma give all of my people a portion to build them a fortune on flipping the ride. I can't be mixy when iffy the vibe, and 40 on 50 is really the